streaming. Oh my goodness.
About to tell you guys secrets.
Secrets.
Not for public consumption.
Secrets. Ryan's secrets.
Well, now's the perfect time to say it.
Oh, there we go. Now we're live. Like that crap. Like it.
Okay, back to Discord. We are live, everyone.
The best part about Rec Room is nobody can see how defeated I am by life.
Oh my god.
He totally took the screenshot when my hands weren't showing.
I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
As you always have been.
Here.
Okay, I need to pop out chat. World's Average Gamer is always the first one, man. He never lets us down.
Is he here yet?
Already said hi.
Oh, I have to
Hello,
close.
World's Average. I love that name. That's a good name. World's Average Gamer. What do you think the World's Average Gamer plays? Not this guy.
But just
But like-
everyone.
PUBG? Is it PUBG?
Nah, it's-
Roblox.
I feel like as much as I hate to say it, I feel like it'd be Fortnite. Like, isn't that still one of the biggest games? That or League of Legends?
I was about to say, yeah.
Man.
Fortnite's awesome.
League of
Crush.
Legends.
Ooh, the League of Legends.
Technically Fortnite, or I mean, let's exclude mobile here. But
Nah, man. We got to get
Fortnite-
average, man. Lowest of the low, highest of the highs. Throw yourself right in the middle. I think it's probably Hitman 3.
There we go. There we go. We got Fifi, Natalie, Diamond JP. Got all kinds of people showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I am so ready to go. Natalie is wondering how you're doing, Alex.
Natalie, I'm doing so much better now that I know you're concerned about my well-being. Natalie, how are you doing is what I'm wondering.
How you doing?
How you doing? Now, if you wanted to get really fancy, which I'm not going to recommend, you could also get another window up of this chat like we all have. But that's
I'm gonna be
advanced.
I'm gonna be staring at my own ass the whole time if I do that. No way, man. No way.
Okay.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if the Oculus One has these settings, but for at least the Rift S, you can actually pull out a window. If you use trigger and grip, you can pull a window out of like the monitor shit thing, so it becomes just it'll be like a VR window, but it's just showing that particular application. So I do that with the pop out chat, and
These are all very exciting sounding things. Also, extremely daunting sounding.
oh, okay.
The outline is enough.
This is basically assume you're podcasting with your father or uncle who is afraid to put on a VR headset because he might have to take off his hat to show his balls.
That says your shirt. There's no words for it.
This is a gift.
Show
from
everybody the bag.
my friend James over here. The back of my shirt. What's on the back?
Lone Star Bowling.
Please be an 8-ball. Oh, bowling. Okay,
Fee is scared by your ears,
Oh,
Jay.
just as good.
Oh, the ears. You love them.
It is epic. I feel like, did you get the glasses just so you could show off the ears?
No, I actually got the glasses for doing a quest, and I put them on to try and take a little attention away from the ears. The problem is the ears look weird because you don't have a nose. If you had a nose, it would be fine. But only having the ears and no nose makes you look kind of monkey-ish. What's up, Shock VR?
I think
They're not in here, Jay Brat. I ain't waving at them.
There's a camera right there. Can you see the camera?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh,
Frick.
there's it.
That's the streamer cam.
Oh, man.
If you touch that, I will come over and murder
If you
you.
touch that.
I'm not touching anything, Jay Brat.
Better not be.
Hands to myself. I learned
He's like, y'all can see me.
from your mistake.
We got 3 likes. Who's slacking out there?
Get on it.
Still trudging through Onslaught. Oh, I'm sorry, gamer. All right. I am ready to start whenever anyone else is.
I am as well.
Me too.
All right, let's begin. I need to Okay, there's the camera.
No, you don't get it. I can't even pick it up. Oh, I think it's because my Oculus menu.
Oh my gosh, you people!
Whoa, who you calling you people?
You people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing a weekly dive of all the news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk you need for virtual reality gaming every Friday. This podcast is brought to you by Asterion Products, designers of some of the top-selling Amazon VR and AR accessories, like the Asterion Aura VR headstand. I'm a McAfee producer and editor of this podcast.
I'm Jay Bratt. I'm a VR YouTuber and streamer.
I'm Destiny Wheeler, entrepreneur and VR enthusiast.
And tonight, we have a very special guest in the form of Alex. You guys may have seen him before. He's from the Play PS5 podcast, the Play PSVR podcast. But Alex, if you want to describe yourself in more detail, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Alex. I play PSVR. I play PlayStation 5. I rip on Jay Brad over here when I get the chance, and I'm really excited to be back on the podcast. I had a wonderful time last time, and I'm having an even more wonderful time already because now I'm in the rec room, and it's more in my comfort zone. So thank you for having me.
Of course. This is my first time because I wasn't there last podcast. It was
You weren't there.
Yeah.
The name seems familiar. Well, I'm so sorry. It's nice to meet you.
We didn't address this before starting the recording. It is nice to meet you too as well, Alex. Great to have you here. So for those of you who are tuned in on our various podcast platforms, just letting you know, this is actually all in VR right now. We're in VR. We're looking at each other. We're making expressions, making rude faces, the good stuff. So if you want to see this action, we are both live streaming and uploading this in post. This is going on our YouTube channel, Full Dive Gaming Podcast. We've got a live chat going on, and it's sweet. You should absolutely get in on this action. We will be running this podcast in 4 sections tonight. First, we have our Q&A section brought to you by our Patreon and Discord communities. Second, we have the VR gaming news section. And then third, we have a games we've been playing section, which highlights like new VR releases or some oldies and goodies or just whatever we've been enjoying this week. And then lastly, we have our discussion section. That one changes week to week. And this week, we will be talking about Sony's lack of VR and what that means for the industry. Right now, I mean, obviously they have the PlayStation VR, but lately, the biggest thing we've had was Hitman 3, which just came out, but that's it. So we'll be talking about that. Though last week we were covering using virtual reality as a means of exercise. It was a super interesting discussion. We had a guy from VR Fitness Insider, I think is the name of the program. Awesome discussion. You guys should check that out. That is episode 36. And now into the Q&A. Destiny, you have our first question.
Yes, so from World's Average Gamer, have y'all played Hitman 3 VR? If so, what was your opinion about it? So basically, we'll answer that in the game section tonight since we have a PSVR expert guest with us. Yay!
I will withhold all comments on that question until you guys defer to me later.
You hold it in. Don't let any of it out.
I want to blurt it out right now, but you guys, all self-control over here.
I'm so impressed.
We've got it all sectioned out for you towards the end. So you'll be hearing about that later. Jay, you have the next question.
Yeah, Elijah, the tired dude YouTube asks, is the Oculus 2 really good? And I'm gonna say no. It's quite good. I don't know if I'd give it a really. Its head strap it comes with is pretty crappy. The field of view can be crappy depending on what your head size is, like me, who has too big of a head for it. But otherwise, it's cool. You get wireless freedom. It can run all kinds of games. The screen resolution is really good. It's got a lot of great things going, but they had to make some sacrifices to hit that $300 price point, which I would say takes it out of the really good category and puts it in the pretty good still. The price is really good, but then that's why the product is not really good.
Right.
It's
One day we'll have better happy mediums.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The headset that doesn't compromise. That'll happen someday.
One day. The Deca gear, man, it's coming.
Oh gosh.
Remember that one YouTube commenter? That guy's sold.
He's bought 2.
The Deca gear. What's going on here?
Oh, you haven't heard of this?
I've not heard of it. What's going on? What's Deca gear? Sounds like a Godzilla monster.
Yeah, it kind of is. I'll keep it brief, but it's from this totally just brand new company. They're making a brand new VR headset, and it promises the world for like $300.
Sign up. Yeah.
$10 to pre-order yours now.
All right, I'll take 10 of them.
About it.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
It's got some cool stuff. You definitely look into the specs and things later. I mean, we like from what we've heard, it's like the company announced all these like crazy promises, and then the developers working on it are like, "What are you talking about? We are nowhere near releasing this thing." So
the one thing I've learned in the video game space is developers always deliver on promises. So I'm sure it can be.
Look at
Cyberpunk.
Look at Cyberpunk.
Nothing
Always.
could go wrong.
All right. Last question. Haxus asks us, what are the biggest pains in older headsets? Well, we have someone here using an Oculus V1. He can answer that as well. And what do you think has improved over the years? I'll leave this to Jay and Alex. Starting with Alex.
Yeah, I'll start with the old headset. Field of view is obviously one thing that can be limited. I don't feel it too much, but it's there obviously. And then the big thing, we're all thinking it, we all feel it, we all hate it. It's the wires, man. The older headset, that is of course the biggest pain. It's the lack of the freedom. Take away the wires and you give me the world, man. But I'm tethered to a computer. I'm tethered to a brick. Jay right over here is running around his house like a loon, doing whatever he wants, embarrassing me.
Well, one day you'll step up into the pretty good VR category. Well, this is actually a great question, Haxus, because as far as PC VR specific headsets go, I mean, some things have gotten better, but a lot of things are the same or worse still. Like, yes, the resolution is way better. There's less screen door effect. But like the Rift CV1 he's wearing right now has a great set of headphones on it. Great set of headphones. The tracking, as long as you have it set up right, obviously it's not inside out. They've become more convenient, but at a cost, because the tracking on that thing when you play Beat Saber is instantaneous. It's so good. So a lot of things have gotten better, but in the search for convenience, things have been sacrificed, and that's sadly what I feel like about them. There's no headset that's like everything's amazing. Still, we're still compromising. We got to get there someday.
Yeah. And if the headset is amazing, then you end up paying for it. Like currently, I'd say the Index is currently the best. Like short of it having a wire, it's generally across the board got everything like right. But it costs you have to sell your firstborn son to get it. So,
but who wants their firstborn son? Honestly, right? Like,
right.
It's such a great trade. Such a great trade.
You experiment, learn with the first one, sell it off for your VR Index, and then
then I'm a VR daddy, and that's all I wanted to be.
VR daddy.
With that, I'm gonna wrap up the Q&A. I just realized I wasn't recording that whole time.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I might. Do I redo that? It's only the Q&A. Yeah, we should.
Because we were streaming, but I hadn't hit start recording on OBS either. We have the stream. So worst case scenario, we have the stream.
Definitely not.
But
definitely not the stream. That destroys the audio in recording.
This is not.
We get
good,
like
man.
it's like the little things where you're like, did I bring where did I leave the keys, or afterwards, did you flush the toilet? You're like, I don't remember if I flushed it or not. I just do it like automatically at this point, right? That's the recording button now.
Oh my god.
Ironically, the recording button, you flushed everything down the toilet by not pressing the recording button. It's all right. I like it. It was a practice run. I needed it. All right.
There you go. From the top. Let's go.
From the top. Okay.
Honey, give me a Kahlua.
We apologize, stream, but this is hardly the first time. I think
now I have
third.
to pee. I don't. We're good, man.
Okay.
We're good. I'm always at risk of that. It's okay. I'll just let it fly.
You got no face cam. Just have a bottle handy.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing a weekly dive of all the news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk you need for virtual reality gaming every Friday. This podcast is brought to you by Styrian Products, designers of some of the top-selling Amazon VR and AR accessories like the Styrian Aura Universal VR headstand. I'm Rick McAfee, producer and editor of this podcast.
I'm Jay Bratt. I'm a VR YouTuber and streamer.
I'm Destiny Wheeler, entrepreneur and VR enthusiast.
And tonight we have a wonderful, well, I'd say new guest, but he's actually been here before. This is Alex. He's been on the, well, not on, he runs the Play PS5 podcast and the.
I've been on it, yeah. I've been on the Play PS5. It's mine. I'm on it every week, but I've been on it before.
He's a frequent guest. And the Play PSVR podcast. Alex, thank you so much for hopping in. If you want to tell him a little bit about yourself, now's your moment.
Yeah, I'm 6'2". I'm ready to hang out. I'm about a $150 more than I want to be, but we'll get down there one day. VR stuff. No, I play PlayStation 5. I play PSVR. I have a podcast for each one of them. The PSVR one's a bit defunct because they haven't released much, but we'll probably release an episode now because of the stuff we're going to talk about today. Mostly it's PS5. So if you got a PS5, want to hear some goobers argue with each other about PS5, check out the Play PS5 podcast. And sometimes we rip on Jay Brett over here because he's so fun to rip on. Except then you get to see them ears, and it's just yeah,
it's really easy too.
But seriously, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited about this. So fun last time.
Of course, so Alex.
I'm ready to do it again.
So if you, audience, those listening on our various podcast services, haven't picked up yet, we are actually in VR right now. We're in a room. We're looking at each other. We're making weird faces, making mean gestures. It's good stuff. If you want in on this, if you want to watch the current live stream that is happening right now, we have a live chat going. Consider heading over to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast YouTube channel. We will be running our podcast in 4 sections tonight. First, the Q&A from our Patreon and Discord communities. Second, a VR gaming news section. Third, we have our games we've been playing section. So that's like new VR releases, and just what we've been playing if it's been a dry week. And then lastly, we have our discussion section. This week, we will be covering Sony's lack of VR recently. We've only really had like the Hitman 3, and that's like kind of it's been very dry, and we still haven't heard of PSVR 2. We'll be talking all about that at the end of the podcast, so stick around. Oh, and I gotta tell you, last week we covered using virtual reality as a means of exercise. It was a super interesting discussion. We had a guy here from the VR Fitness Insider. We recommend heading to episode 36 and checking that out. And with that, we can actually get into the Q&A. Destiny, you've got the first one.
Yes, so today we have one from World's Average Gamer. They ask, have y'all played Hitman 3 VR? If so, what was your opinion about it? So basically, we'll answer that in the game section tonight since we have a PSVR expert guest with us.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
I don't know about expert, but I'm definitely a PSVR guest.
that frequent guest.
I'm an expert guest in that I'm an expert at being a guest, I think we'd say.
Guys, when will I be an actual host? No, you're a guest, Alex.
No, get back to editing it, yeah.
Get back to editing
Back to work.
All right, Jay, you have the next question.
Elijah, the Tired Dude YouTube asks, is the Oculus 2 really good? Now, I'm going to say it's pretty good because it's got some problems. A lot of things were improved, but if you're like me, you have a big head, you actually might lose some field of view with the new one. The head strap it comes with is just awful. So is the Quest 1. It was awful too. But, I mean, they both are awful. That doesn't make either of them really good. The thing was they had to get it down to that $300 price point, so they had to make some sacrifices. It is what it is. It's still a good headset, and I highly recommend the Quest 2, but it just doesn't quite earn the title of really good.
Yeah.
So if the head strap's the issue, Jay Brett, what if I offered you a service where you could sew the headset onto your face? Would that be the one you choose?
If it's
The
free.
Quest 2?
If it's free, yeah.
If it's free, yeah, for sure. All right.
Like the weight of the headset's so heavy, it would just rip off your face.
Ah!
It feels like it would hurt.
Yeah, have you seen dude's neck, man? He is jacked, yoked in the back. Yeah.
That's the only workout I do is neck workouts. Nothing else.
Yes.
Just
Right.
muscly.
All right, and then last question from Haxis. He asks us, what are the biggest pains for older headsets, and what do you think has improved over the years? Kind of related to that Quest 2 thing. Alex and Jay are kind of our best authorities on this. Alex is currently on his Oculus V1, and Jay's had like every headset under the sun. So, Alex, I'm gonna have you answer that first.
Yeah. All of my VR experience is Oculus Rift V1, Oculus V1 and PSVR. So they're two of the oldest headsets. I also did Google Daydream for a hot minute. The issue.
We don't count those.
Yeah, we don't count those. Google doesn't even count them apparently.
That's right.
Yeah, the big thing, field of view. That's one. And then the big thing is, of course, wires. Wires. It tethers me to a box. I'm sitting here. I'm stuck in a room. I can't go roaming around my house with a VR headset on, playing some game. Imagine I'm somewhere else. Instead, we got J-Red over here with the headset glued to his face, going wherever he wants, VRing around Walmart like a joker. Jealous.
That's totally what I do in all my spare time. Well, Haxus, I think that this is a great question because if you're sticking to just PC VR, if you're just in the PC VR realm, the headsets have not actually improved in every way like we would expect them to by now. Like the Rift CV1 he's wearing, it's got amazing headphones on it, and now a lot of them have ditched headphones so that you use your own or to save money on them. The tracking on some of the older ones like the Vive, obviously, the Rift CV1, is spot on. If you're playing like Beat Saber, it's the best for competitions and stuff. But we've went the convenient route. We want convenience, so we got inside-out tracking, which isn't quite as good, but it is much more convenient. There's no towers to set up. And field of view actually is the one thing I feel like on the Rift S is worse than on the CV1. But at least other headsets, the Valve Index, the G2, they've gotten a little better, maybe. The Valve Index is way better, but actually the G2 barely has any. So it's really its resolution and stuff is what's improved. But the actual headsets, they've still got some work to do.
Right.
Yeah, it's become a competition less of just pure upgrades and more just who can better compromise to get that price point down. And hopefully we'll begin to see straight upgrades for a lower price sooner rather than later.
Please.
Just do it.
All right, with that, I'm going to wrap up the Q&A and hop us into the news segment. But first, this news segment is brought to you by Asterion. Asterion offers super high-quality universal VR headset stands. We love these things, guys. They have RGB lighting. I've actually got an example here in VR for those on YouTube. It's pretty sweet. It can kind of light up if I try. No. Wait. Come on. There we go.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It usually is like light in it. But yeah, it's got like this acrylic glass thing and it's super minimalist. Looks great. Jay owns like 10 of them. We all love these things. We cannot recommend them enough. And they'll work for any headset stand. Just turn off.
Will it work on my Google Daydream?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I mean, so long as it is not heavier, like truly like significantly heavier in the back than it is the front, which is pretty rare for a VR headset, it should work.
Not only will it work on your Google Daydream, it has a USB port on the side. You can plug your Google Pixel in and charge it while it's there.
Because my current Google Daydream headset holder is a trash can.
Upgrade from the trash can.
Upgrade from the trash can.
Let's make it look
All right. Let's hop into the first news piece. Jay, you got it.
So, if you don't know what Walking Dead Saints and Sinners...
Actually, I'm sorry. I didn't actually say the code and all that.
Oh.
Important information. If you guys want this thing, sort of just our high glowing recommendation, head on over to www.asterionproducts.com and you will get $5 off any orders $19.99 or more if you use our code FULLDIVE. That's FULLDIVE. It's pretty sweet. Everyone who's gotten this thing is just glowing reviews about it.
They love it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry to interrupt, Jay.
So, if you haven't heard of The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, what are you even doing in VR? It is probably one of the best games you can play on like every headset. And because of that, it's now reached $29 million in revenue. If you head over to the dev team's Twitter, they've thanked the community in a video. There's a 2-minute video over there saying thank you. But importantly, they said they can't wait to show us what's next. Even Alex Eden, their marketing coordinator, was talking about it. So on that vein, we don't really know what they mean by that, but we know that Skydance is actually in the middle of hiring a number of roles for its VR team, and one of them is for a narrative director to, quote, conceptualize and drive the narrative vision of a complex virtual universe. And they also need a senior software engineer to, quote, help develop our next generation of groundbreaking games. So they've made a lot of money, and it sounds like they're going to keep on putting it into some VR. What do you think about that?
Yes. I mean, that's so good.
You think if I take one of those jobs, I get the $29 million?
You get a chunk of it, a small chunk.
Not worth it. No, so Skydance, they made it, right? So what else have they made?
Rip is our expert here. Rip is our expert on this kind of stuff, but obviously they made The Walking Dead Saints Sinners, which is all you need to know, Alex, because it's the best game.
It seriously is like one of the biggest promise-keeping games in terms of like, oh, you thought you could do that? Guess what you can. You thought you could stab a zombie in the head? Guess what you can. You thought you could grab the zombie's head and yank that knife right back out? Guess what? It happens, and you're doing it. That's the game I tell people who haven't played VR now. It's like, listen, there's this game. I know it's Walking Dead. You think I'm just trying to be edgy with zombies, and I make them play that game, and they get it. They get it, and they understand, and then they don't want to play VR anymore because they're grossed out.
It's a bit intense. I feel like the art style lends it to, like, even though it's a little gory and stuff, it's not like realistic gory. So I think most people can handle it. I think.
Yeah, most can, but my grandmother could not.
Oh, come on, grandmas love slaying zombies. All we know from this really is that they're continuing, which is awesome. I'm super excited. Rip, did you find out anything over there about Skydance themselves?
So I was trying to remember where I knew the name from, and I've now figured it out. So Skydance, most of you would actually know them for helping on films. So they've worked on like the Terminator series and like the new Top Gun and Annihilation. I mean, they're just a huge film group. Skydance Media. So this is actually, from what I can tell, their first big Saints and Sinners was their first big entry into video games, which is super cool and kind of interesting that the people who work most with like film and media, they wanted to get into interactive media and they did it through VR, which is actually kind of cool. So Saints and Sinners was their first big project. Some of you might be wondering, well, didn't they also do Onslaught? Onslaught was technically made by a different dev team. It is not the same group, which is why it's terrible.
What's odd, it was made by Servios, who are like the veteran developers, right?
Yeah.
And somehow they just dropped a turd on us. I don't know if it's because Saints and Sinners came out and it stole all their zombie thunder, but it's just like, how did Servios, the company, blew my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, I'm going to hop us on to the next news piece. So this one's super interesting. Hopefully we don't get too techie, but Valve is working on some really interesting stuff. They've got what they're calling an open BCI, which is to solve VR motion sickness and increase immersion. So in a recent interview, Gabe Newell discussed a partnership with this company, OpenBCI, to improve the VR headsets, increase immersion, solve motion sick, like a lot of like important under the hood stuff to really make their headsets stand out, which is super cool. Everything that we can do for that. So many people still have motion sick issues. So from what I can tell, OpenBCI is they look at your brain. It's like it was a little like I didn't get the time because like I started diving into this before the podcast. Like it's big news, but when I started diving into like what the company does and like their science, I was like, all right, this is like a little over my head.
It's jokes on them. They're gonna find nothing in there. Absolutely nothing. Cannot wait to try that headset. Big old blank screen right in front of me.
So yeah, this thing's looking to like, I don't know, scan your brainwaves or something. They're looking to really look at other ways to detect what right now pretty much all motion or VR has to detect what we want and what we're doing is just a bunch of buttons and some like motion tracking, and we've had that since like the Wii. So, this is some big. This would be a very different and very. It would be a very big step for VR in terms of how is it tracking, how is it detecting what you want in a game. Compared to this, what we're doing now is super rudimentary. So this could be really cool. It's like a step removed from a brain chip in your noggin.
So the one thing that tempers, sorry, is it okay if I run away with it? So the one thing that tempers my expectations about it, I love Gabe Newell. He's so spot on with so much stuff, but they're bragging about solving the VR motion sickness thing. But Gabe Newell, right at the beginning of the whole like COVID-19 stuff, he was on TV shows in New Zealand because he got quarantined there, and he was talking about VR, and he said on TV like, oh, we already saw it's done, it's solved. VR motion sickness is solved. So I don't know why they're now touting that they have to solve it again, unless he was referencing something that they had solved and hadn't released anything yet. That being said, I love the idea of any kind of extra sensory stuff going on, especially in VR, because you play like Resident Evil or something like that, and it can track how tense and nervous I am to kind of calibrate the excitement I'm having in a game, because really, although we all love being scared, we don't want to be too scared. And if this has anything that can sense like, oh, this person's literally about to have a heart attack, maybe tone it down a little bit, calibrate this roller coaster ride, not quite as high, not quite as fast, and let them have a good time. I'm on board for it. That's awesome.
Destiny would have all those comfort options turned off.
I was about to say it'd be pretty funny to just like be stone faced and like see like how far it takes how intense it gets.
We can't scare her. We're throwing everything we got, and this person's like just comatose.
Yeah, it just breaks. It's like we give up.
They start like zapping you through the headset to make it more real, just to make you react. I also read into this, and I found it interesting because one of the quotes from him was he was talking about the future of this technology, and he said that if you were a software developer in 2022 who doesn't have one of these in your test lab, you're making a silly mistake. So like he's really thinking this is like the future of this. This is going to solve this. This is really interesting technology, but I mean, I feel like some people are going to have a weird thing about like, how is this thing reading what's going on with my brain signals and like not want to use it. So there's always going to be a hesitation of resistance, but I would jump right into this. I would just go for it. I would try that Vive thing that straps onto your brain, and I would try that. I would love to just see what happens.
Like I said, man, nothing. It's going to give you nothing. You're going to be shocked.
No signals.
Nobody's home.
Like, you can't tell what this person is thinking or feeling.
All right, I'm going to move us. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I thought I've already heard of a few games trying to do something similar where wasn't the Blair Witch supposed to be one of them, where it's supposed to be kind of like, I don't know how, but it's supposed to be kind of judging your reaction on whether or not like how scared you are.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for the horror genre to have some pretty advanced AI, which is not the genre you would expect advanced AI in, but here we are. You've got like, I'd say the biggest example is Alien Isolation, where that alien is like, it's seriously got a mind of its own in terms of how it interacts with the player, how to like keep it not overbearing, but also like it's super smart and interesting. And it kind of like does stuff like that. It reads the player, what's their situation, how can we bump it up a notches, how can we like, keep things good. Blair Witch just got into VR, but like there's not too many, or is going to be in VR. I remember there was
it's out.
About that.
Yeah,
it's out.
It's been out.
How is it, Jay Brad? Give me the review right now.
We'll get to that in the gaming section.
All right.
All right. I'm going to move us on. So, Destiny, you have our next news piece.
Hold on a second. I lost my cup. Okay, so Valve Index top 5 best-selling products on Steam for 13 weeks straight. Despite supply shortages brought on by the coronavirus pandemic, the headset has made frequent appearances among the best-selling products. From a unit standpoint, it's unlikely that the $1,000 Valve Index is selling all that many headsets compared to cheaper headsets like the Oculus Quest. But from a revenue standpoint, the headset seems to be treating Valve very well, and I'm sure they are.
Mm-hmm. So I gotta wonder, what other, like Valve isn't like the company I think of like, oh yeah, they've got some great hardware,
That's what I was gonna say. I challenge anyone here to name 5 products.
Well, is this just
Right?
anything? Is this anything on Steam then? So like, is this going up against games? Because like,
Well,
Games-
so
Certainly
you've
not,
got
right?
no, it's not. So okay, off the top of my head, I know you've got the Steam controller.
They liquidated that though, right? Does that still count?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Okay.
listening. I mean,
I asked you to name 5. You're right. You got it.
and in fact, the next ones are even more obscure. You've got the Steam box that like sold all of like 5 units.
Yep.
And then you've got what else did you get? Was that it?
The Valve T-shirt.
Oh, that one was a real kicker. That one.
It's the Valve Index, and then the Valve Index's little brother. That's the third product. A little tiny Valve Index, plastic Valve Index. It doesn't work.
well, okay. So I pulled up the list here, and it is comparing this to games. So like,
See,
in the week ending January 24th, Rust was the top selling by revenue, Everspace 2, and then the Valve Index VR kit was the third.
Wow.
So this is going up against games.
That's crazy.
Although I mean,
Well,
games, it takes a lot of games
Something
to get
important.
$1,000, so that could also be something to think about.
Okay.
True.
So yeah, revenue-wise, I wonder how much it costs them per unit to make.
I would bet I don't think they're selling it at a loss, but I bet they don't make a ton on it either.
I'm going to definitively say it cost them $237.
That seems a little cheap.
No citations available.
Don't fact check this, okay?
Get out of here, Dr. Snopes.
Yeah. $1,000 a headset. I mean, that shows people are still getting after it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's good for
Destiny,
VR.
are you going to get your VR Index anytime soon?
Oh, I wholeheartedly want one for sure, and it's going to happen this year. But the timing, I'm not sure when.
With this whole coronavirus thing, I get it. I guess.
Aside from the wireless features, is there anything that the Valve Index is lacking compared to another headset, or is the Valve Index the be-all end-all?
Pixel density.
God,
Yeah.
headset.
Because it has a wider field of view than most headsets, it does not have the pixel density that some of them have, especially like the new G2 from HP. But even like some of the headsets like the Rift S, in comparison, when you look at like through the lenses, it really pixel for pixel doesn't look that much better, but you have a much wider field of view. You're looking at like 40 degrees.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's no longer the best in every category by any means, and that's my struggle with it. I really want one, but it's $1,000 still. It's almost 2 years since it came out. Like, how do I pay $1,000 when someone got it 2 years ago and has been playing with it that long for $1,000 as well? That's just a moral
That's another
struggle.
thing that worries me because, like, we've talked about this before. I know that they've mentioned that they want to go wireless, and so like right now we've been working on the room and the setup and the PC, like upgrading it for it. But then I feel like as soon as we invest and then I'm able to get the index, the next day they're gonna be like, guess what?
Here's the wireless version. Yeah.
Like
Totally incompatible with the old one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, who knows? But yeah, they're killing it. Good for them.
Yeah, it's super exciting to see. All right, and then next I was about to say movie piece. I don't know where that came from.
Next moose piece.
Next moose piece. Jade, you have the next moose piece.
If you don't know what Echo VR is, it's probably because you don't have an Oculus device. But if you do, Echo VR is this cool space game where you're either on one team or the other. You're trying to score goals, kind of like football or soccer, but you're floating around in free space. You're grabbing the walls to make yourself move. You got jets on you, and you're trying to score in the goal. Basically, they're adding a new battle pass system, which everyone's always so excited to hear that.
Oh, yay.
Woo! But basically, you pay, and then you get some cosmetics. Not pay to play, not pay to win, just pay to get some cosmetics. You know, like games like Fortnite and other big free-to-play games do. It's an interesting choice, and it's strange because even at this point, Echo VR is a pretty big deal. It's becoming bigger in the esports arena. You can play it on Quest, you can play it on Oculus on PC. But on PC, Echo originally had this Echo combat side to it as well, which still hasn't made it to Quest, and they're saying may not make it to Quest. So they may be seeing that the whole future of the game is just the Echo disc-throwing sports game that it is. But hey, now you can pay to be customized and look cool. I'm not going to do it, but anyone who's on a team maybe is going to do this. I don't see a point to
that's
it.
what they're doing. They're getting teams to buy. They're all going to buy the same shirt, and they're going to make a killing because they're trying to go all esports on it. Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's a good idea.
As someone who still plays a good amount of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I'm just like, oh no, no, not battle passes. It ruined my baby. What will it do to this one? Started out. Oh man! All right, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but good on them for making money because it's hard to make money in the VR industry. But I can't say I'm proud of them for the way they're doing it because battle passes. I mean, it's better than pay to win, I guess.
Yep. Well, that would ruin it for sure. At least this is only cosmetics. It's not going to change much about the game. It's an Oculus exclusive is my biggest issue with the game. And if they want it to be a big esports game, I don't feel like it should be an exclusive, but that's what Facebook does, what they want. So,
right.
Everybody's getting it. Thanks.
And it is better than like loot boxes, right?
Yep.
So, compromise, I guess. All right. And then we're blowing through these. So last news piece. So there is some evidence, my friends, on Bethesda is making something. So Australian government's media classification board posted a listing for a project called, and I quote, Project 2021A, which is like as default a placeholder name as you can get. But this is listed from Bethesda, and it is listed to solely be supporting VR, which is pretty important, and that's what really gets us excited. But the only hint we have besides a super generic project name in VR is that it is rated 18 plus for, and I quote, high impact violence and online interactivity.
And nudity?
And interactivity.
Oh, no, nudity. I know. I'm disappointed already, Bethesda.
That eliminates a direct.
I'm not buying it.
Which one of the? Do you guys know which one of the? What's it? One of the more recent Wolfenstein games, I'm pretty certain had nudity. I don't remember which one it is, though.
Youngblood?
No, not Youngblood.
Youngblood.
That's the one. That's the one, Alex.
We found it.
So, most news outlets, most Reddit, sophisticated as they are, the Reddit community, everyone's pretty certain, but it's not guaranteed that this is going to be a Doom Eternal port, because we got Doom 2016 ported as Doom Vr in 2017, and that game was awful. It was okay on PlayStation, oddly enough, but on PC it was like forced into teleport. Like you couldn't do anything besides teleport, which is like,
that's awful.
That's the antithesis of how you play Doom.
Yeah.
So, we're not thrilled about that, but it's pretty likely that they might be sticking their toes back into the VR pool.
Finally.
Finally, yeah. We always say it's great to have the AAA companies going into this, and it'll be. Go ahead.
So, crackpot theory. All right, Microsoft just purchased Bethesda. Microsoft has yet to really make a foray into the VR space, but they have this Xbox Series X that's like the greatest piece of hardware of all time. Do we think there might be something there, some kind of connection there? I mean, I don't know how Microsoft plays with Facebook. Do they get along well? Are they comfortable making games for Facebook? I would imagine not, because they're competing Silicon Valley entities. So are we thinking that there's a chance that Microsoft is going to try to come out with another headset, another Windows VR, plug that ish right into your Xbox and play Doom until your eyes fall out?
Well, they already
honestly
they partnered with HP on the Reverb G2, so we've been waiting for them to say, "Oh, it's going to work on your Xbox," which they had. No one said that at all yet, but maybe one thing on the Australian classification site, I will tell you this is how they rate the games. So there's 6 categories why it got this rating. So under sex, nudity, and drug use, none. They rated that as none. But they said it's got a medium amount of language, a very high amount of violence, and a pretty high amount of themes, mature themes. So does that lead towards this being a specific game? Maybe this is an exclusive that would come to the Xbox. I have no idea. But is that a certain game? Does that ring the bell and say, hey, I think that's this game? Doom. Maybe they're gonna drop Doom on it. I don't know. But if they do, they're probably gonna try and make it some kind of exclusive, I guess, because it's Microsoft and they kind of need to.
Doom or Wolfenstein.
But Wolfenstein has some nudity, right? So this has none.
Only that specific cutscene, and they can. I mean, they've got such a variety. They've got the original Wolfenstein games. They've got the original Doom games. They've got the new Doom games, the new Wolfenstein games. There's a lot to choose from just from those 2 IPs, and those IPs have huge followings. So we're not.
Has there been a foray of Quake into VR yet?
No.
I know what they made, like Quake 2 VR, like a side mod or something.
Only modders.
Yeah.
Only modders have brought it in.
Oh, yeah,
Gotcha.
nothing official.
So maybe it's that they're finally pulling that out of their hat.
I wish.
Yeah, especially if it's like a good like multiplayer. A polished multiplayer VR game. This one might have a chance to not have a dead player base. I'm just saying.
Maybe.
Maybe. The
If it's got enough violence, yeah, maybe.
Destiny, is there anything of these titles that we've said that would interest you? Doom, Quake, any of that? Because I know you like shooters.
Yes, I hear a lot of good things about Doom. So yeah, maybe if it was to come to VR. Did you say PSVR exclusive?
No, we're thinking if anything, maybe they would try to tie it to the Xbox. That's total speculation, though. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah, and we have that rumor that we covered a little while ago that there was some code in, I forget which Xbox game, but there was some code regarding Microsoft Flight Simulator. There was some code found in it that indicated that it's going to one day support an Xbox VR headset.
Ooh, juicy.
Yeah, it was like pre-set up to allow that integration on some level. Whether that was just them goofing around in code or what, like who knows? But I'm just saying, the stars are painting a picture here. All right. With that, I'm going to wrap up our news segment and hop us into the games. We got some exciting stuff. I've been looking forward to this. First off, I'm going to just kind of lie back and kind of pass out while these two talk about their PlayStation VR exclusive, and
you want to hear about it.
Fume silently.
I gotta go grab a prop. I'll be right back.
Oh no!
I need to help explain the things.
Help explain what a PlayStation VR looks like, because it's been so long since
No, not
paid
that.
attention to it.
While you're doing that, Fee said no one said a new Fallout regarding the. This is from the live stream chat. So
oh yeah, Fallout
CP.
76 VR. It's time for it. Yeah.
They really want this thing to still make them money for some reason. They haven't given up on it yet. I don't think.
Yeah, maybe 76 and try and bring it back again.
Yeah, give it that VR touch up.
Well, so Adam is not here because we have Alex here. And Alex is a big PSVR guy, and we've both been playing some Hitman 3. I know how I feel about it. Alex, what do you think about Hitman 3?
What do I think about Hitman 3? I'll let you know my first impressions, and then I'll let you know how I felt after I marinated a little bit on those thoughts. But for those who don't know what Hitman is, has anybody here not played a Hitman game? It's possible nobody has except for us.
Me.
You haven't played?
If it's not horror or it's very specific shooter games,
Or
Destiny has horror.
Okay.
What?
CS:GO, aka Pavlov.
Yeah. If it isn't strictly CS:GO or a horror game, Destiny, it's off our radar.
Okay.
But
I've
played it.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a long-running series, and they recently kind of rebooted it last generation. But the crux of the game is you're kind of dropped into an environment where you have all these NPCs that have their own agenda of things that they're doing, and you're given a target in that environment, and your goal is to go in, and you're a hitman to kill that target. Along the way, you have variety of opportunities to make your way to the target, because usually they're a high profile character. They're going to be in some kind of secure situation surrounded by people, and if you get caught doing something wrong, of course security guards are going to shoot at you or something like that. So the name of the game is figure out how to get to your target, how to take them out, and how to get out of the environment without getting caught, without dying. Of course, you're free to kill anybody you want to in the level. Of course, that's not the goal of the game. And you're also free to knock people out, hide their bodies, steal their clothes. The famous examples are, this mafia boss is eating at a sushi restaurant, so I'm going to go in, sneak, knock out one of the chefs, disguise myself as a chef, go out there, serve his food, and give him some poisoned fish, and he dies, and nobody's any the wiser. So clever stuff like that. And so with this reboot of Hitman, we're talking about the third one, but the series now is kind of this playground system where, yeah, you have this simple objective. I think there's 6 levels in the game, but the whole point is that you replay the levels over and over again, trying to accomplish a goal through different means. So I might run in there as fast as I can, hit the guy over the head with a hammer, and then jump overboard and be done with the level. Or I might try to sneak in there and make him think that I'm his security guard and then strangle him with a necktie or stick his face in a toilet. And you get achievements for accomplishing these things. So they really incentivize replaying. Now, the new thing in Hitman VR, of course, in Hitman is the VR component. It's exclusive to PlayStation 4, I believe. So although you can play 3 on your PS5, which we all love our PS5s, you're playing the PS4 version of VR, which is unfortunate, but was kind of expected right now, given the status of Sony with the PlayStation 5. So to bring it around back to what I said earlier, my initial thoughts was, my God, this is incredible. This is the only way I could ever play Hitman. This is absolutely fantastic. Look at me. I'm walking around in this boat, and I'm staring these people dead in the eye, pretending to be a security guard, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I was thrilled with the experience, and I finished the level, and the only reason I stopped was because it was my bedtime. I came back the next day, and I played the game in flat mode, and it seemed... I left with an experience of, I can see so much more stuff in the flat mode, and I have such a higher level of comfort playing in flat mode to where I feel more comfortable experimenting with things. So there's this weird line you have to set of, do I want to go through this environment and explore comfortably, or do I want to immerse myself in the actual feeling of being a hitman and interfacing with these NPCs in a way that you really do? So there's a line to draw there. Of course, we're all VR enthusiasts. We're all more or less used to VR, so it's easier for us to decide what we want to do. But I think my mode going forward now is going to be play through the level, really get the lay of the land in the flat mode, and then go through and get all your accomplishments in VR mode where you have access to the real interactivity. Long-winded way of saying I really enjoy the game. Jay Brett, I have no idea what you think, to be honest. What do you think?
A quick question for my clarity. When you play flat, is it third person when you play flat?
Yes, it's only third person, yeah. It's a third person shooter in flat, yeah.
So I played Hitman 2 back in the day. So that was my experience with Hitman before this. And when you're third person, it's such a different game too, because you can see your character, you can see the costumes you put on him, you can kind of see around corners and stuff. So there's such a huge difference in how it feels to be in the eyes of the hitman, in the body, looking these people in the eyes, trying to avoid them looking at you. Like it's so much different when I walk my character behind someone I'm trying to sneak behind, and I can see my character, I can see them. But when I'm in VR, I can't watch them while I'm like ducking behind a counter and going. It's a completely different experience. But we would not be explaining the game fully if we did not explain some of the weird decisions in how they control the game. So,
well, actually, would you say it's a better game for what you just described regarding like the visual aspect of how it changes third person versus VR?
I think it's tough to say better. I mean, he makes a compelling case. I think it's a different game. I think you're almost getting two games for the price of one. You have the same environments, but in terms of going through these environments and accomplishing these challenges and tasks, you're accomplishing them totally differently. Because like he said, when I'm playing in VR, I'm not just going to sit by the corner and use my camera to cheese where the enemies are. When I played in VR and my target's right around the corner, I have to lean, and that exposes me. And people are looking at me, and I'm looking ridiculous. And the guards are like, "What are you doing? That's so suspicious. I'm going to come over there and talk to you." So it changes the dynamics of the game in a really, really great way.
Okay.
It's more like strategy, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It is, and it feels like it's you. It doesn't feel like when you're playing Hitman in third person, you can pull your guns out and run around shooting and you can just go crazy. All of a sudden in VR, it feels like you're in this really tense situation, and it has this level of tense craziness that I really like about it. Like, it's truly, it's kind of revolutionary for VR when you're playing this game in VR versus anything I've played yet.
Yeah, especially when you're strangling somebody. I feel bad about it every single time. Say what you want about the guy that I'm killing. I feel horrible every time I see my fingers wrapping around their neck and they're struggling, and there's nothing I can do but watch the consciousness leave their body.
Yes. That, for me, the game, I felt like it was a 9 out of 10 easily, but the VR controls that they decided to use for it gave it like a 6, so I kind of balanced it somewhere around like a 7.5. And so the weirdness about it, so I actually grabbed a DualShock from the lobby for the demonstration here. So if you're watching, you can see it. If not, you're just going to have to understand what I'm telling you. But like, you play it with a DualShock controller, not 2 motion controllers like you usually would in VR. You play it with a single DualShock controller. So now when I want to make a fist and punch some guy to knock him out, I have to pull the trigger to make a fist, and I have to physically move the whole DualShock controller at him to punch. And that was
for clarity, for those that aren't like familiar on the lingo for the PlayStation series, the DualShock controller is like the come with the console, like the standard PlayStation 4 controller.
Just standard controller gamepad, It has some motion controls to it, a little bit of light sensor that works with the camera, so that's how it's picking up the motion. But yeah, it's certainly a weird feeling to be punching somebody in the head with the butt of your controller.
Yeah. But it's not bad, though. When you're strangling with it, it kind of feels right. But when it came to the guns, I don't even use the guns unless I have to, because it was just too awkward to try and aim the gun with the DualShock controller. That was just driving me crazy.
They do have like a laser target you can do if you like pull the trigger a little bit. It's so incredibly sensitive, and the weird thing is you line up with the laser, but then because you have to squeeze the trigger a little bit harder to shoot, and the gun's so sensitive, I always miss. Absolutely every single time.
Yeah, that was the one bad decision. If it wasn't for that, if you played this with motion controls, the game as it stands now, I would say this would be one of my top VR games of all time. I love how I feel. I love that there's so many ways to kill someone. I mean, I know in one mission you can like go in and kill them. You can but you can even like poison some food and give it to the waiter to go serve them. You never even have to see the target, and you can kill them this way. Yeah. It's such a unique game. The whole Hitman series it's something different, and it's the one thing that's just killing this game for me is this weird control style. And as I get used to it, it's so much better because you get immersed. But when you first get to it, if you're going to get this game, tell yourself, okay, I'm going to spend an hour getting used to the controller before I'm going to actually get to enjoy the game, because you've got to get used to this. It's just a weird style.
Yeah, the one recommendation I saw somebody who played the game request from the developers, and I think it's a really good idea, is if they would implement the Resident Evil 7 style controls where you're using the standard controllers just like a normal video game, but when you have guns, you're aiming with the headset. So you're aiming across here with your head, and you just pull the trigger to fire. So it maintains that brain body connection with the controller, so you have that fluency with the movement and the gameplay without interrupting it with this weird motion controller. And the DualShock's not the best tracking device. It's probably maybe the worst VR controller you can imagine if you're looking for motion controls.
Yeah, so many weird choices. But beyond that, it's so good, it's so cool. I just hate that I have to like throw that caveat on there of like, but the controls are weird, because I would say I paid $64 for the deluxe, and I feel like that was definitely worth it. I'm gonna go buy Hitman 1 and 2 just to import those levels and play them as well. Yeah, I'm gonna buy those too because it's that worth it. I didn't feel any sort of. I don't think you'd get motion sick in this. You move slowly. There is a run button, but I feel like they implemented the smoothness of it really well. All they need to do is sort the controls, and this would be probably a top 5 VR game for me.
Yeah, for sure. It's certainly one of the highlights of the PlayStation VR catalog, which has been really sad and pathetic recently. It's amazing that they chose to have this come out. The one downside is we're sitting on PlayStation 5s now. We're wanting Sony to do something with them. We're hearing about games coming out with PlayStation 5 enhancements for the PSVR, but seemingly this doesn't have it. Even though it is a game with a free PS5 upgrade, we're still kind of playing that PlayStation 4.5 stuff going on, where the gameplay's hindered, or not the gameplay, the graphics are hindered because they're still trying to appease that last generation. And if this game has some timed exclusivity and it comes out on the PC VR, I think that's going to be a really incredible game. if they can get that out on the PC VR. But who knows if Sony just threw stupid amounts of money at them to keep it on the PS.
Someone said they were like, I think they used the DualShock just so there wouldn't be a way to play this on PC.
Yeah, I could see that.
True.
So for those that like, they've got their PlayStation 5, they just got Hitman, but they don't have a PSVR yet, but they really want to play this game in VR as opposed to flat screen. Maybe they're holding out on the experience or whatever the case may be. Do you think they should wait to get wait and see, does Sony do anything and get a new VR headset for the Sony systems, or do you think they should just jump in and get a PlayStation VR for this? What should they do?
I think, considering the fact that we've heard nothing from Sony regarding the next PlayStation VR, even though we all kind of feel like it's coming, right? Like that's the rumbling we have in our tummy. I think since we don't know, as soon as we hear something, it's going to be a year and a half out before it's realized. So time is of the essence. You got this game, you want to play it, you want to play it in VR. Jump on it now. I don't think the prices on the systems are going to get any lower. There are some sweet deals every once in a while, and there's probably a lot of people out there who are tired of the PSVR, so you could probably get it cheap on eBay or something like that. But I certainly say don't hold out for PSVR 2. Go ahead and grab it now. There's plenty of good stuff you could be playing on that thing, especially now that they're rolling out some of these PS5 enhancements as well.
Mm-hmm. Good answer.
Did I pass? Did I pass?
You passed. I'm still just salty. It's only on PlayStation.
I understand. Yeah.
Was there anything you want? Any other questions, Destiny? This is something you guys aren't going to get to play. So, is there anything else that we're not thinking about that people might want to know about the game?
Not that I can think of as far as questions, but I'll just say one thing that I thought was cool. You had mentioned as far as the replayability, them enhancing that with the different ways you can kill or whatever. And Rip might agree. That kind of reminds me of how they did Phantom Ops or Phantom Covert Ops or whatever, the kayaking game. It's kind of the same way. So I do love games like that where it kind of gives you that variety of different ways that you can, interact with. So that's cool. It does sound like a really cool game. I'm kind of upset now that maybe it didn't come to other platforms, but I get it.
Well,
you could
hopefully...
Oh,
go ahead.
You could just play it in flat mode and put your face right up against the screen. It's the exact same
Cross your eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hopefully we get for Destiny and us on Destiny and I. Well, hopefully for us on the superior systems, but for some reason without the Sony exclusives. We will be getting, hopefully, all but confirmed, Splinter Cell in VR at some point down the line, and hopefully that will kind of scratch that itch of a AAA stealth game, because there's as you guys have kind of pointed out, there's a lot of room for that. Hell, even Half-Life Alyx showed you can have some really cool stealth stuff going on. Alyx was very much you kind of just do what you're supposed to. It's still fun because you have to figure out what you're supposed to do, and how you do it is a lot of fun. That Valve is specialized and perfected the on rails gameplay experience, but definitely seeing some of the good stuff. We probably won't see a Metal Gear Solid. We probably won't see, I don't know what else I'm missing. I don't play a ton of these, but definitely Splinter Cell will probably be the next big thing hopefully for us and on PC.
Yeah.
Well, tying into Bethesda, their new game coming out, one of the big IPs that they have that we haven't heard much is what's it called? It begins with a D, not Division. Does anybody know? You guys aren't console gamers.
I mean, I am, but okay, Doom. Wait, which
there's two of them. There's two of them. And you're a stealth... Dishonored, that's it. Dishonored.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if Bethesda's working on a new VR game, Dishonored VR, it'd be perfect. But the fact that it's a high gore game, a high violence game, maybe in VR that enhances the violence. I don't know. But I'm just spitballing here. That's one IP they haven't touched. Yeah. And it would scratch that itch. I mean, it's more or less like a more steampunk Hitman style game, I guess. If you look at it.
Not only... That's a really good point, though. And talk about a perfect game for teleportation options. The game is entirely based on teleporting around and using all your cool. I could totally see that in VR now that you've said that. Yeah. And my mind's erasing here.
Yeah. Bethesda, give me money. I gave you the idea. Give me money.
I mean, we could wish that was the game we were talking about earlier. Before we move on, I got to clarify a couple things here. Does Splinter Cell, like, there's so many, we talk about stealth games, typically stealth games are like hide and kill and hide and kill.
Right.
Hitman has impersonation and like deception, which is what changed it so much. Does Splinter Cell have any of that? Like the fact that you pretend to be someone in Hitman and you walk through with this confident air, like that is what draws me in because there's a bit of strategy to it too. And I'm not into the games where I'm just like hiding from a camera and then ducking and then hiding from someone.
Well, a good stealth game is less. I mean, the basics of a stealth game would be just like hiding behind stuff and avoiding cameras or the vision of an enemy AI. But really, when a stealth game shines is not when it's about just those systems, though those should be done really well. You know, you should have good AI and make sure it doesn't feel unfair on the player while also making it feel difficult. But a good stealth game is about the tools you're using. And Hitman 3's tools might be a little different, but the premise is very much the same in that Hitman 3 is all about giving you all these options, right? That's what we were talking about. You can poison them. You can put on all these disguises, right? And that's what makes it so fun. Then you've got stuff like my personal favorite, which is Metal Gear Solid 5, which is like tools galore in terms of how you can approach situations. It's got a lot of combat options, but it certainly gives you a ton of things in the stealth. You can't impersonate anyone, but you have to, if you really want to go that stealth route, you got to work for it. You got to think of really interesting ways like Hitman that allow you to complete your missions. And that's what's so cool about a good stealth game is it's not about just, it's not a shooting gallery anymore. You are simultaneously in combat around enemies, but it's not a shooting game anymore. You need to solve problems to continue, and that's what's so cool about the stealth genre, I think.
That's what Hitman's where it's hitting me because there's like things where like you can hide and listen to what someone says and they might give away a point like, oh, this person's supposed to be meeting with this person today, and so like you like no, okay, instead of doing this whole trying to kill them here, I can go take that person's clothes and wait for them to have this meeting, and they're gonna be totally easy to kill in this situation rather than having to go in where all the security is at. So it's like that side of it is what's so cool, and I just feel like I haven't seen anything like that in VR before, that it really feels like this stands alone in what it is.
Right. Joey says Starfield as a VR. I don't think that's got enough violence to be the Bethesda.
That's the one we haven't seen anything yet, right? Starfield. Yeah. It'd be great. Hey, give me that in VR. But
oh my god. Well, it's also going to be, I think, solely a VR game is what's being reported. So there's no way Starfield's going to be only VR. There's just too much money at stake.
Right.
All right. I'm going to move us on. So last week we had Abshire from VR Fitness, and he highly recommended a fairly new game called Ragnarok. It's fairly new, right? Do you remember when it came out?
I hadn't even heard of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't new. I just didn't know.
Okay. I ask you these questions so that I can buy time to fact check myself. So it released December 17th. So yeah, very new. Somehow flew under our radar, but he was like just glowing about how fun this game is. I was like, I love Beat Saber. I'm like, VR is suddenly where I want to play these rhythm games. Like never on flat screen, but VR, it's suddenly a blast, it turns out. And also I like a bit of exercise. So I bought it, I tried it, and oh my gosh, Jay, you got it. Destiny, you don't play a lot of them, but if you like metal or, well, then try this game because it's so fun. Maybe skip the first two songs. They're not, like, the first one's okay, and then the second one sounds like, as I described to Jay earlier, it sounds kind of like one of those like intro songs on an old like 2000s cartoon, like a newer Scooby-Doo song sort of a deal. Really? It's kind of awful. That's the second song, and it was like, I'm like, these are all right. I don't know what he was talking about, but then every song from there, you're like hyped as hell.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like, but is it like Beat Saber where you can go through a menu and you choose your own song, or do you have to go through a certain order?
So Yeah, you know what? I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So you pick a song. You have your various difficulties. It gives you 3 difficulties with a number associated with each one. So it's not necessarily easy, medium, and hard. It has to the song an easy, medium, and hard, but it's like this song might have a difficulty settings of 1, 4, and then 7, whereas this one's got like 2, 5, and 8. Right, like each of those options can be a little bit harder than the last one you did, and they kind of vary in terms of what each difficulty mode will be. In the general game, for those who are like, what is he talking about? So Ragnarok is you are on a Viking ship in VR, and you've got like Viking, like you got bagpipes, or you got, I don't know, just like whatever is appropriate for Vikings. And you've got this like heavy metal going, or sometimes it's not just heavy metal, but usually it's got like metal
Scooby-Doo,
of some sort.
Yeah.
Well, not Scooby-Doo for the rest of them, thank God. That one was like, I was like, this is awful. Unless you like that. But what was I going to say? But yeah, so you have 4 drums in front of you and these 2 shields, and you're playing the drums according to these like runes that are coming at you, and you just hit the corresponding drum for where the rune's going to land, and you want to hit it on time. If you miss a note, you lose your streak, and if you build up a streak, you can hit these big old shields on the side, kind of like this like Guitar Hero style, where like you would get the little like once you start doing well enough, you like.
You rock out.
Yeah, you rock out. Yeah, that's it. It's equivalent to that. But the whole thing is that the better you're playing, the faster your ship goes, and then you can like double or triple your speed based off hitting the shields. And when you're playing multiplayer, which is I think a better executed in this than Beat Saber, because you're on your ship, but all the other people in the multiplayer are also on their ships, and you're racing at that point. So you want your ship to be front and center. You are like you feel the pressure to like just play these drums perfect and like race ahead, and you can like look to the sides and see these ships. Though on the harder difficulties, you don't have time. I barely like on the harder difficulties. I feel like I barely had time to like find time to hit the shield. I'd like look for a little pause in the music, be like, all right, that right there. I gotta hit all these notes and then hit the shield. This sounds like the perfect game for Rit. That's from our chat, Natalie. You know it, Nat. Super fun game. You guys should play this. Do you play much Beat Saber or any of that sort of game, Alex?
You know, I was like the one person that didn't really jive with Beat Saber. I understood the appeal, and it was fun for an evening, but after that I was kind of like, all right, I get it. I see what's going on. I really enjoyed Audica, what I played of that, although the music was never quite my speed. But there certainly is a Box VR. I love that one. For some reason, I don't know. I think the punching just feels better to me than slicing and dicing. Even though I hit myself in the face a handful of times. That's a fun game. So yeah, I like these kind of games. What you're describing sounds really exciting. Especially if there's like a decent context to the race and it kind of raises the stakes a bit. I think with Beat Saber, Guitar Hero kind of exhausted me on the music / performance / rhythm action game for rhythm action's sake. And right. Beat Saber's in that same vein. It's rhythm action for the rhythm action's sake. I'd really like to have some context to it. So racing a ship might be what I'm looking for. So yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and the music will get you hyped if nothing else. It's got some, compared to like Beat Saber and most of the other songs that like, you know, either you've got like all these pirated songs so that you can play your games a la modded Beat Saber, or you know they spent whatever limited budget they could and you have all these like built-in songs, right? This group, they've got, first off, they got an assortment of different artists that made a song for this, so you get a good variety. You get some really cool stuff. It doesn't, Beat Saber, when you play the default songs, they're all obviously different songs, but they kind of all feel very similar. It doesn't feel like the genre is changing much. Like if you don't like the first 3 songs of Beat Saber, you probably won't like the rest of them in terms of default songs. Whereas this one's got, in the words of IGN, it's got a little something for everybody.
Yeah, I just want to bang one out to Scooby Doo. You got me pumped for it.
How much is the game? How much does it cost?
So this is actually my favorite part. It's $20, which I felt was super appropriate for this game.
Yeah.
For that to be the no sale going on, just a straight $19.99, and you've got yourself a really solid game.
Especially with the multiplayer, it definitely does sound, a lot better than the Beat Saber multiplayer. So that's cool.
And I mostly just played the solo because I don't know, I sometimes don't want that like pressure.
Especially when it's new.
Especially when you're new. Yeah, I was looking at like some of the top scores for these other people. I was like, oh my gosh, how do they get that?
Yeah.
But it's pretty sweet. I also like that I think generally the leaderboards and scores integrated a bit better than Beat Saber, which is always the one to compare to. It's also just a gorgeous game. It definitely falls on the style of like that kind of indie tunes, kind of like what we're seeing right now here. So it's not like super detailed immersive graphics. It's more like about the art style, but it's got a really cool art style.
I just now got the pun with the name Ragnarok. I just now got it. Just now got it. Great.
It makes me think of Ragnar from the show Vikings.
Mm-hmm. I guess it was. I saw the title, so I didn't like think about. It's Ragna and then enter rock. So it like was a little more obvious
Ragna
with the image.
And rock and roll.
Yeah.
Ragnarok rock and roll songs Beat Saber game is what the full title.
Should be the full title.
Should be the full title, maybe.
With Scooby Doo also. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm done.
This game, just to let you guys know, if you're like, is this like a popular game? Usually you can tell if a game's actually good based off like, does it have any decent amount of like reviews? This thing has 400 Steam reviews, which for a VR game is pretty good, and it's very positive on Steam. So if you don't want to take my word for it, the Steam community is pretty happy about it too.
Nice.
All right,
add it to the list.
Add it to the list. We'll keep this one short because we've talked about this game in depth so many times. But Gorn just releases
tomorrow.
Releases tomorrow
on Quest.
So, Jay, tell for those that are they haven't been listening to all the episodes, they don't know what Gorn is. Why is it a big deal? Why should they be excited about this?
Well, it's a gladiator simulator, and if you're a Quest player, you don't have Blade and Sorcery, which is like the top-notch one. So Gorn, it's a gladiator, it's gory, it's coming out tomorrow, and the reason I would get it, even if I already had it on another one, having it wirelessly on Quest, you're just so free. Yeah. You're so free. Tomorrow, I'm going to mark out my entire garage as my play space. I'm going to empty that thing out, and I'm going to run around physically and actually fight these guys without using my joysticks. If you do buy it, one weird thing, I just got to warn you, first thing, it defaults to this weird movement style where you grab the world and move it, and it makes you play the first test thing in this style. You can't even go to options first and change it. The minute that's over, go to options, turn on the locomotion because that is terrible. But Quest people are excited. They've been waiting on something like this tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you just look at like in general what people or what kind of YouTube VR games are popular, it's pretty much. A good part of it is like Gorn. It's Blade and Sorcery. You just see so much of that. So I know a lot of people have this on their radar. Super excited for you Quest guys to finally have access to this. All right, gonna move us on though. Destiny. This was another one I was super excited about. You played Blair Witch, is that correct?
Yes, I finally got around to it. Like I think I bought it the day it came out, or at least the week of. I just now got around to playing it. But so I'll say for some people who don't know, it's already been available on PC for a while. But I'm really impressed that the way they delivered it, it's almost identical to the PC version. Like they did very well, like keeping it, pretty accurate. So, anyways, another weird thing about this game, or I guess not weird, but another cool thing for people who aren't necessarily into horror games, this is a first person, like story driven, like psychological horror game, but it's not a typical horror game in the sense that there's going to be like jump scares, gore. It's not. It's almost a little bit more of like a puzzle type game. If that makes any sense. And so like basically there's this missing boy, and then you're this guy who joins in on the investigation, and then as you're going through the woods you have to like look for clues or like pick up things as you work your way through it. So it's really cool. I love the Blair Witch, the movie in general, so I'm just happy to see something like this, like a big title like this, come to VR, because I know we literally have been talking about that, because we've been asked before like what games we would like to see come to VR, and this was one of them. And so it's like I said, I think it's huge. It's definitely a step in the right direction, and it's nice to see other like a variety of horror games coming. But I don't remember the price. I want to say it was 20 or 30. I think it was
on Steam.
I bought it through it's Quest. It's a Quest exclusive, I think.
Oh,
Well, I think it's
Quest.
So it's when it was on PC. Was it an Oculus exclusive, or was it?
Well, see, there is the PC version, but then I think there is the Oculus Quest exclusive version.
So this is not like a VR add-on to the pre-existing Blair Witch game. This is now more Blair Witch VR, but maybe they don't call it that, and it's only on Quest.
$30.
It was completely made for VR. Like it's two games. But like I said, they're almost identical. So I feel like people who are playing either or aren't really missing anything other than obviously the VR version. The immersion was a lot of fun, because I'll say a lot of people, and they might agree with me on this, the best part of the game is you get a dog and you get to like choose his color and his collar and like scratch him and give him like
of course that's their favorite.
Yeah, I love it. Like I'm actually going to share a video soon of probably just
please do. Please do.
One question I have about the game, the only thing I remember from the Blair Witch movie that came out back in the day is that there's people standing in corners, and for some reason that's completely terrifying. I just want to know, do you see somebody standing with their face in a corner in this game?
No, or at least I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
Then
maybe I can provide.
At the very, very, very end of the movie. And so I'll let you know once I finish the game to the very end.
Yeah, I need to know.
But yeah, and so as far as like the price, I think it's good. Like for people who are horror film fanatics, they would probably want to go ahead and pay that price like me. But if you're looking for a, like I said, a typical scary, gory game, the price might be better if it goes on sale. And as far as like the motion sickness, I love that they really thought out the like as far as the comfort, it offers that teleportation, like it goes through all the different settings, so you can choose whatever you're more comfortable with. But so yeah, I like I said, I enjoyed it. It's not actually one of my top favorite VR scary games, but I definitely will keep playing it.
Okay. Do you think it is, for those that are big like Blair Witch fans, do you think it's particularly true to the movies in terms of like what you would expect for a game? Does it really take it, and does it also like take advantage of the fact that it's in VR in any special ways?
It does. Like, I mean, seeing it in VR, they really nailed it. Like, it is a good VR game. But as far as like any comparison to the movie, almost not at all. Like, because The Blair Witch is actually my favorite horror movie, and like Jay's even seen, like, I've made some really cool like replicas and stuff from the movie, but it is not one the same. Like, so yeah, in that aspect, it is disappointing. Like I said, I already kind of knew that going into it because of the PC version being that way.
Right.
So, but like other horror movie games like Friday the 13th, like that one, oh my gosh, if they brought that to VR, like it would give
sweet.
Like a run for its money. Like that would be super, super legit and fun. But like I said, since this one's a little bit more puzzle-ish, like if I had to come up with a game for the Blair Witch, it would not be like this. So it's cool for what it is, but
Okay.
don't go into it expecting much.
And I know you don't get scared by anything these days, but is it still a good horror? You said it has a lot of puzzle mechanics. That's great for people like me that just don't really want to spend their time strapped into a VR headset just to scare myself.
Right.
But for those that are a little bit more hardcore, want to get scared, want the genuine horror experience, does this game provide that?
No, I think that, like I said, I think if you go into this expecting something like that, you are going to be disappointed. So
You're also a terrible person to ask that, I feel like. You'll say that about a game, and I will be crapping my pants the entire game. So I don't know if anyone should trust that opinion.
well, and I think after playing Phasmophobia in VR, it has set the bar so high for horror games for me. I don't know, not a comparison. Well, and like I said, if we're going to talk about horror games in general, comparing it to other games being brought to VR, Friday the 13th would be so much better. But
That would
it's
be
cool. I am glad to see it, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Just a little. Well, Jay, you'll have to, to give us a more normal person perspective.
I'm still
shell
You'll
shocked.
play it. Alex, you can play it, and maybe we might let you back on if you tell us how
Maybe.
the Blair Witch is.
Yeah, that's my ticket. That's my ticket back in. Okay.
Oh, you don't have the Quest though, because it's only on Quest. Which
I'm
is
just
so
gonna lie
dumb.
to you. I'll just lie to you. You got no
back on.
idea. Yeah.
I don't know if it's safe that way. I don't know. Well, since they're not doing PC VR support anymore, it might say. I could be wrong. I'll double check on that.
Well, I have one last question. Obviously, anytime a game gives you a dog, there's a pretty obvious fear of what could happen.
Oh my god.
How do you feel about that potential fear coming to light?
Oh, it scares me for sure. Like the whole time, you just want to protect your dog, and it's cool because you get a little whistle, and so you can call him and bring him back and stuff. So just keep him by you. Take care of him.
All right. And with that, I'm going to move us on from the game section and into our discussion section. But first, before we continue, we want to tell you real quick about this week's discussion segment sponsor. You might have heard of them. We've mentioned them a lot here on this podcast, and it is Asterion. I'm actually, you know what? Before I continue, Jay, you wanna take this? Excuse me, take this one. Spice it up. I talk a lot.
You guys know about Asterion. They make some of the best VR stands. If you're watching the live stream, you can actually see this thing right here. It turns on. It changes colors. It cycles through all these colors, and you can even have it just cycle on its own. It holds any VR headset. It has a USB port on the side that you can charge your Quest. You can charge your PSVR Move controllers. You can charge your phone with it. It looks gorgeous in any setting. I own so many of them, it's ridiculous. And if you want to get your own, go to AsterionProducts.com. Use the code FULLDIVE. It's all one word. Check the show notes. Check the description if you need spelling of any of that. It's all there. And if you want this, or if you already have one and you want something like this that holds your headphones specifically, they have a Vertex there. They have skins for your controllers. They have all kinds of stuff there. Use that code. Get $5 off anything $19.99 or more on the store. And then they tell us, hey, another happy person bought with your code and you're doing great, which we've been told several times, and we like that.
Mm-hmm. And truly, everyone who's gotten this thing and has told us what they thought, everyone's loved it. You just can't go wrong with this thing. It's so nice.
Yeah, it appeases to everybody.
It does. All right, now, so kind of a big deal. Sony, they're huge in gaming, and the VR industry definitely was pushed forward in a big way when they came out with the PlayStation VR. They quickly became the best-selling VR headset, and they basically did what Facebook's doing right now, which is totally overshadowing everything that's happening on PC in terms of sales. Now, since then, however, Facebook has kind of taken up that mantle. They've been really showing Sony, hey, your headset's really cheap, but it's also not really good. And here's a cheap headset that happens to also be pretty darn good for its price point. And Sony, so far, has not answered the call. In fact, we have heard kind of not so exciting thing. That so far the only rumors we've had regarding a PlayStation VR 2 have actually been that they don't have plans. The only rumors have been that they truly, like, they might just drop it. We don't know. There's still, but we also have like these, Hitman 3 just released with PlayStation VR support. So clearly it's not dead. There's still, and it's an exclusive. If Sony did not care about their VR, they wouldn't have asked for the Hitman 3 franchise and IP to strictly be on PlayStation VR. So what's going on? What are we expecting? I'm gonna kind of let Alex and Jay really take off on this one from here, because they're the PlayStation VR owners, and hopefully, I know a lot of our audience plays PlayStation VR exclusively. So, what do you guys think? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, we have a handful of things that give you no hope, and then you have a handful of things that give you some hope. The handful of things that give you no hope, kind of like what you mentioned, is the support's dwindling. There's not been much said. And just overall, you see Facebook is now this new giant in the marketplace that wasn't there when the PSVR first came out. So all those things combined make you think, like, yeah, of course they've hung it up and they're done, just like they did with the Vita and handheld gaming. They're ready to quit. The thing that gives me hope, the things that give me hope are we're constantly seeing new patents come out of Sony that indicate a push for VR technology. We're seeing things. They got something wireless. They got something that can see where your eyes are looking. They got this new controller that's got these weird buttons in it.
Right.
But we can only trust patents as far as we can throw them, right? I don't know what percentage of patents that we see in the gaming sphere come to fruition, right?
Not many.
I mean, remember all the patents that came out when the Nintendo Wii came out, and we thought it was going to be like this projector that sits in the middle of your room and projects the game all around the house or something like that. Like this waggle controller, which was cool at the time, but it's way far off from what we were predicting from the patents that we saw. So who knows what Sony's going for? That being said, one of the lead might have been Cerny, or one of the VPs of Sony came out and said, yeah, VR is still, it's still in our sights. It's still an important part of the PlayStation ecosystem. So on one hand, I feel like they're too invested, and they had really good success with the PSVR, and people who bought into the PSVR really enjoyed it. But it was maybe 1% of the market share when compared to the PS4. And they've really got their hands full with the PS5, just getting enough out there for people to buy. Right. And then keeping the hardware running smoothly, because you're starting to see weird things happen with it. So I just don't know what they have, when they're going to have the time to start developing this next generation PSVR. And there's the big question mark. Is it going to be wireless? Is it going to be standalone? How are we going to leverage the power of the PlayStation 5 to give us the best VR experience that we have? And honestly, I just feel like they're probably waiting for 5G, see how well that streaming can work locally, and try to cut out that link that like the Oculus link has. But those are the things that I'm kind of weighing in my head constantly as I'm evaluating. Is there a future in PSVR 2? I don't know, Jay Brown. How have you been feeling about PSVR and its future?
So Sony had such an iron fist grip on the bottom of the market, and they've had so many patents and things come out. And what it looked like they were going to go for with PSVR 2 was they were going to keep that iron grip. They were going to keep the bottom of the market. They were going to make a headset that kept up with everything else. It was going to have capacitive finger tracking of every finger. So it was going to be like the Valve Index for the PSVR, and maybe even wireless, maybe even multiple could connect. But what I feel like happened, and this is just my theory, there's no proof of this, I feel like they had this fully in the works, and then Oculus Quest 2 said, not only are we going to come out, we're going to come out dirt cheap. And Sony, they're really smart. They know business stuff. They said, well, F. We can't even compete with that at all. With what we're trying to do here, we need to just pump the brakes and wait. And now they're trying to see, well, where do we land in the market now? Do we make something that's way better than everything else and try and jump into that top end? Because we're pretty certain Quest 2 is running at a loss. They're selling them at a loss, and Sony is probably not going to want to do that with their headset. So they're like, okay, how do we make a meaningful PSVR 2 that stands up to this reputation of being one of the better selling ones without just getting lost in the middle like the HP Reverb G2 and other headsets do? So I think that's why he said, it's coming, it's going to happen in the future, but it's not anytime soon, because they're probably waiting to see how can we innovate in a way that's going to innovate better than anyone else has. Because if you come out with a headset right now that's just as good as everything else, there's no reason for anybody to buy that unless it's cheaper, and it can't be cheaper than the Quest 2. That was one of the best and worst things Facebook could have done to the VR industry as a whole. They're pushing it out there to everyone, which is great, but they're killing innovation across the board because now no one can afford to compete with them. It hurts.
Go ahead, Alex.
The one thing I think Sony has going for them, and I alluded to it, and we don't know if it's going to pan out, leveraging the power of the PlayStation 5. I mean, we all know that PCs are the most powerful way to do any kind of gaming, right? Because they're always on the cutting edge. But we also know that consoles are so popular, and there's so many people buying these because they're so simple that they kind of set the bar and set the kind of the average standard of where our gaming technology is landing. And so, whereas you have the Quest, which is still using kind of glorified mobile architecture, right? It's just like a really good, smartphone from maybe 2 years ago plugged into a VR headset. If Sony is able to leverage the power of the PlayStation 5, offload all of the processing power to the PlayStation 5 while still achieving that standard that we're getting for the PlayStation 5's graphics across the generation, then there's an opportunity to save money, right? They're not trying to waste money packing in this processing power into a headset if the PlayStation 5 can do all that work for them. So then they can redirect that money into, wonderful tracking, great controllers that they're still going to charge us $150 for, and hopefully some really good screens with really high refresh rates, which, Sony's great about that. They're always excellent with screens, so I'm not worried about that. That's what's going to be the seller right there, is the resolution, the screen, the refresh rate, combined with the power of the PlayStation 5.
K27 from chat brings up a good point. The biggest problem with the PlayStation VR is the price point. Definitely needs to be lower. You mentioned that Quest made that really difficult with their $300 price point, but he's got a good point in that consoles are going for people generally. Consoles have some amount of they've got convenience over PCs, and they've got an amount of reliability over PCs, but generally the reason people get a PlayStation VR and not a gaming PC is because just straight up it's cheaper. Most people, there's plenty of people that just have a wage that means they have to save up for a PlayStation 4, right? Not $1,000 rig, let alone adding on when the PlayStation VR released, that thing was selling for $500. That's a lot. So I don't think they can do that now. I don't think they can release a $500 VR headset, but not with what Quest is doing. No. So what do you guys think about K27's point?
I think it started at 500. A year later, it was 450. A year later, it was 350. And now we're almost 5 years in, and it's still 350. That is insane. They could have sold 10 million units if they would have dropped it to 250, and they never did. They just left it there. And I never understood why. It boggled my mind, and it still boggles my mind that they sit on shelves at 350. That's too much money. It's been too much money for years now. It's way too much money now.
Right.
But the price point of the PlayStation 5, it's one of the most expensive consoles of all time now, right? At $500, people are paying upwards of $1,000 for it. Sony has proven now that the average video game player has reached an age where they make their own big boy or big girl money, and they have their own paycheck, and they're not asking mom and dad for that cash, and so they're willing to drop. Sony jumped the gun of the PlayStation 3, and they lost that bet. They lost that gamble with the expensive console, but now they're back in here with this high-priced premium console. Kaz Hirai, you're going to want to get a second job to pay for this, and so they prove that we're willing to pay a lot of money for it. Maybe they can prove it again with a PlayStation 5 with a PlayStation 5 VR if it really wows us. And it's almost a challenge, right? You have Oculus being this budget for everybody, PlayStation or VR system. Sony can come in, take their lunch, and say, "Listen, we don't want your cell phone games. We want PlayStation 5 games that go all around your head." And I think that's what they need to aim at. And yeah, it's going to suck that it's more expensive than the Oculus, but $400, you got people who've been sitting on their PS5 for 2 years now. They've saved that money back up. They're ready to drop it again for some new gaming experience.
You guys also mentioned, what's really important for these people is selling at a loss. Now, it's actually, you said, Jay, that Sony might not want to sell at a loss, but actually, I think that's not true, because Sony, if anything, I mean, just generally, game console companies in general, their whole premise is selling at a loss. Their whole shtick is that you sell what it takes to make these consoles costs a good bit more than what they're selling them for, even with the PlayStation 5. It's incredible, actually, what they've jam-packed in there. But the trouble with the PlayStation VR, obviously, it's selling games. The Hitman IP wouldn't have been sold with an exclusivity for the PlayStation VR if they weren't expecting to make bank on that, right? Because I'm sure they paid some amount of money to make that happen. Now, do they make enough bank to sell that kind of hardware is another question. Do they have that extra dough coming in from all their VR-specific PlayStation sales that they can therefore compete with? Because that's how Facebook's doing it. There's no way that Quest is actually built for anything less than like $600, and probably more. I don't know, but they're selling at a loss because they can afford to do that. Most of the other companies can't do that. HP, they got to sell that thing for what it's worth. Vive, they got to sell that thing for what it's worth. Sony, Valve, maybe, that they obviously make a ton of software sales, but Sony's the other big player there. That's why we want to see something from Sony, because we know that if there is a company that can sell at a loss and therefore give us good quality VR that isn't Google Daydream, but at the price of Google Daydream, Sony can do it. And I certainly would like a competitor for Facebook, because they've got shitty practices.
We need someone to step in and change this.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. Sony is like the only other group out there, one of the only other groups out there that can sell at a loss. I think the attachment rate for the PlayStation VR when it was in its heyday was something crazy, like 10 to 1, 10 games per one piece of hardware, which is absurd when you think about, you go to your friend's house, they're playing PlayStation 4, they have Madden, they might have Need for Speed if they get bored sometimes, and they're playing Call of Duty. You get a 3 to 1 attachment rate. Call of Duty probably came with the game or came with the console. So these VR owners, although they might have been 1% or 10% at best of the ecosystem, they have an outsized attachment rate, and that money comes back to them. So I'm hoping that Sony's in a situation where they make this VR, they sell at a loss, but if they even break even and make $1 over, then it was a profitable venture, because they still maintain that foothold in the hardware space that Microsoft doesn't have, that PC is struggling to cultivate around entirely, and Facebook is actively pushing enthusiastic users away. It's just there's a vacuum there. And I want somebody to occupy it, and I think Sony's just so well positioned. If I could just talk to the president and bend his ear and say, listen, man, it's right there for you to take. It's there for the taking, and it could be great.
The attachment rate was super high, but the other caveat to that is Madden's $60, Need for Speed $60. How many PSVR games did you buy that were $3 a piece? I mean, I own something like 200 PSVR games, and I didn't spend $10,000 on them. Like, the attachment rate is huge because of that, but I really hope Sony, they can come back and be the dominator, but I mean, this is less sales than the Vita had, so they could theoretically walk away, and it would hurt the VR industry as a whole if they walk away. We need the big player, and if they don't, we're gonna be the Facebook podcast. It's not gonna be the VR podcast. It's gonna be the whole market.
The Zuckercast, yeah.
Zuckercast.
I don't want that. I know Destiny doesn't want that either.
All right. As much as I would like to ask more questions to you guys, we have to wrap things up due to time. Alex, thanks again so much for showing up at the podcast. You've been awesome, man. We'd love to have you again. Alex, how can these lovely listeners and watchers, how can they find you?
Yeah,
short of the show notes and description, because whatever you say is going to show up there.
Yeah. I'm rarely in Rec Room, so you're not going to find me here in Rec Room. I've been on the podcast twice now. Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice meeting you this time. Jay, Brett, Destiny, wonderful talking to you guys again. Jay, Brett, I hate your guts sometimes. If you want more of what I'm spitting You want to listen to some of my game, you got to get on your podcasting. You got to call your auntie and say you got audio to put in her ear. It's called the Play PS5 Podcast. Play PS5 the podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, whatever crap you listen to, on Spotify. It's there. It's in your ears. You listen to it. You tell your auntie. She's going to thank you for it. She's going to call me up, and she's going to be on the next episode. So hit it up. Play PS5 the podcast. You're going to love it. Even if you don't got a PS5, please. Please. We need the viewers. Please.
I love it.
Thank you guys. Hey, this has been great. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to his podcast, they've got some awesome stuff on that. They were, they've been doing things a little bit longer than us. So we did our research. We know about them. I knew. And
You vetted me. You vetted me.
Yeah, I vetted him, and I was like, I can do better. So here we are. I'm just kidding. He's got his niche and we got ours. And that's what's great about it. It's why we get to do these collaborative things, and it's awesome. So if you guys want to check them out, by all means, search them up. But if you're too lazy, we got hyperlinks down in the YouTube description. It's going to be in the show notes. I know there's not a lot like hyperlinks like barely work there, but I trust you have the power to copy paste or whatever you can do. So check them out, guys. On a related note, we've got our Discord server. If you want to, see, you want to know what's going on. You want to talk to this guy. He's in our Discord community. You can. Do you have a Discord community that we can drop?
I think I know how to do a Discord community, man. Yes, VR, man. 'Cause I don't know how to hook the VR headset to my PC.
Perfect. Then, until further notice, our Discord community is the place to talk to him until he gets his own. So head on over to our Discord community, guys. We're all active there. We'll talk to any of you. It's awesome. And that's where our Q&A section is pulled from. So check that out. We have the Patreon. That's $5 a month. You get early access to the regularly scheduled program. But for you, it's not regularly scheduled. It's whenever I happen to edit it, and then it's uploaded immediately. It's also in high quality stereo as opposed to mono, because podcast platforms are kind of dumb that way. So you get the super special version over on Patreon. And of course, if you are listening to us, like he said, it's so easy to be on every platform. So we're on every platform. But if we're not on the platform you like, let us know. We'll make sure we're there. And if you are listening, consider checking out the YouTube channel. If you are on the YouTube channel, consider listening. You can listen to us in the car. You don't have to sit around on your phone with your eyes glued on the screen. And with that, I can finally say goodbye, everyone. Thanks again, Alex. And we will see you all episode 38.
38! Woo. And
closer to that
scene. Oh my goodness. Alex, it's always a pleasure when our paths cross. Tell Adam to get his ish together and get here.
Yeah.
I would love to see Adam outside of our podcast, see how he acts, because I think he'd get immensely nervous. So I would love, I would love it.
Immensely nervous. I could see that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know what. I heard that one podcast he did all by himself, and I was like, whoa, this is different. So I would love to ask him some questions.
So let's see. So we are in After Hours. Hello, everyone. Freaking Natalie, dive on in. I'm not saying it. That's not going to be a thing.
It's dive on in. Fully.
Dive on in. No, thank you.
Don't be a fool. Full dive. Bam. That one was free.
That one was free.
Mic drop.
Yeah, that one's free.
Oh my goodness. So Alex, so for Zencaster, that you should say you're uploading. Yeah, you're at 12% according to my webpage. Make sure you don't close that page until it says.
I almost just closed it on accident.
Yeah. Keep that open until it says you are done. Otherwise, there might be issues.
I'm trying to figure out how to close this pin thing. Oh, you know what? I could probably just poke at it where it says pinned.
Yeah. There you go.
It'll go away. Well, hey guys, I'm going to get.
I'm sorry. It's pretty late for you, isn't it?
It's very late, but yeah, it was good seeing you. I will see y'all later.
See you, Disney. Have fun with Blair Witch.
Yeah, enjoy the witch.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh
Right.
boy. Should I just end, who else is there still people chatting? Should I just end stream? I haven't been looking at the chat.
If you guys want to ask your questions, speak now, forever hold your peace, because things usually get a little, most people have emptied out by the time we get to after hours. Sometimes it's popping, sometimes it's all silent.
Hey, don't you touch my camera. Get the heck out of here. What do you think you're doing?
Sorry, man. Freaking sorry, man.
Oh, can other people touch your camera?
No, they can't. They can try. See?
Oh, that'd be so useful, because then I could get it set up.
Yeah, but then
exactly as I
people would
want it.
mess it up. That's the
mean?
worry. People would screw it up.
Oh, there you go. World's Average Gamer is back, actually.
Just in time for the after hours.
K27 is here. Well, if you guys have questions, want to know what we're up to, just want to shoot the shit, now's your time. Can these be moved?
K27 can say hi to Alex because I know he talks to you on Twitter.
What up, K27? Yeah, with Karan, Canadian dude. Yeah.
Yep. He was on this podcast actually. He made this room. This was his design.
He made this room. I was admiring this during J-Brat's diatribes. I would just sit here and think about how much I'd rather be one of those people than this person sitting next to J-Brat.
Oh, you.
I kid.
You're like a pair of competitive brothers.
Yeah.
More like a stepdad who's very ashamed of his child. I'll let you figure out which one's which.
I try my best to please you.
And you just don't. You just don't ever. You never do.
I never do. Yeah, my best is never good enough.
So sad. Okay, now I feel a little guilty. It's not completely true. I'm just gonna run around here with this camera. What do you think of Rip's new look, everybody? He's got his podcast headphones and his very coiffed hair.
He looks like straight out of ESPN. I love it. That's
kind of what I was thinking. I was like,
he's a man I could lay in bed with.
I really would have liked to have had the hat.
Platonic.
The headphones. Yeah. Oh well.
I
can't have everything
like
in life.
hat look, man. It's professional.
Do you want to explain your look here, Alex? Is this you IRL? Just completely.
This is me IRL. The girlish ponytail, the Guy Fieri shirt. The only thing missing is probably some weight and maybe some bags under my eyes.
Rip needs a scarf. Okay, I'll be back.
Yeah, get your scarf, Rip.
Wait, is that an option?
Yeah, it is.
But will it take over one of your other spots? That's the problem with Rec Room. You can't just pile on all the clothes you want.
Does it go on the head or does it go on the body?
I think it goes on the body, but I'm not sure. Maybe it takes the place of the sash.
I feel like it's a philosophical question.
I think it's a necktie. It takes the necktie spot, so yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah.
It should be fine.
Where do I find that?
Alex, what's coming in the Play PS5 podcast? Give us some spoilers here. Give us some sneak peeks.
Let's see. I don't even know what we're talking about. I'm trying to get Adam to do anything. Play PS5 podcast. Here's the thing that pissed me off with the PS5. They're not releasing any PS5 games. It's still PS4 games that are optimized on PS5, and that's frustrating.
That is exactly how I feel. I feel like I still have not found a single game that actually shows me the capability of the PS5 yet.
Demon Souls, if you're into those kind of games, it's a beautiful showcase of the game. It's the best you can do. But Miles Morales is good, but it's also on PS4. Astrobot's good, but it's a tech demo. Yeah. So I think the next one is Returnal, comes out in March. But until then, we're still looking at PlayStation 4 games that are optimized and are fun and nice, but the tech behind them is still PlayStation 4.
Well, I wanted to try Demon Souls just to see how good it looked, but my problem was I did not want to pay $60. And there's no places $70. $70. There's no places that rent the game anywhere near me, so I can't do that.
Can you GameFly it?
I have never looked at GameFly. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe you could. It's just, your best bet's going to be trying to find it cheap somewhere, but I don't think it's going to be cheap for a long time because it's the only PlayStation 5 game.
Yeah, well, Kay is saying Destruction All Stars is coming. What is that?
Yeah. Oh, so here you go. They just announced for PlayStation Plus Destruction All Stars. I think that's PS5 exclusive. It's like a car combat like Rocket League, but you can also run around too on your feet.
Ugh.
It's probably going to be really good because it's multiplayer based and it's free PlayStation Plus. That's exciting. That game Control that everybody loved, that was like one of the first showcases of ray tracing. The Ultimate Edition is coming out for PS Plus. So everybody that was pissed off because they bought Control and then they have to buy it again to get the Ultimate Edition, guess what? You got PlayStation Plus, you're getting the upgrade for free. Enjoy it. So I'm super excited about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's get chat back in here. Zal asks, which game will surpass Alex?
Half-Life Alex.
How come I don't? Oh, I totally missed that question. It's up high. Oh, is there even a game on the radar that will? I don't think there is yet. That's the problem.
2021 A is our best bet, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Bethesda got so burned early in the VR game that I feel like I'm glad to see they're back. But the problem was they invested too much way too early. They dropped all this stuff when there was no players, and they just didn't sell that much back then. So I hope whatever they're making next might be it, but I really feel like the next thing that'll be better is probably going to be one of these Valve projects they're working on. Unless Skydance, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners was so good, maybe whatever they're making.
Should have been Resident Evil 8. That could have been a great showcase, but they just didn't add it.
Did they say is it definitely not coming? Do we know?
It's never been unconfirmed, but there's no reason to believe that it's actually happening, which is so stupid because it's still a PlayStation 4 game, right? It's still a PS4 game optimized for PS5. So why not throw it in PSVR? Please, man. That is a headset seller through and through.
Yeah. I agree there. I see Nat is hyped for Ratchet and Clank. That's like the only PS5 thing I am looking forward to at the moment.
Yeah. Ratchet and Clank. Sackboy. That's one. You and Nat playing Sackboy?
No, I've never been into Little Big Planet. We just got Little Big Planet 3 just to play around with it because it's cheap. But we might get it just to see.
Yeah, it's not a Little Big Planet game. I mean, the character's Little Big Planet, but it's just like a platformer like Mario 3D World or something like that. Isometric platformer. It's really fun. I play it with my daughter, but grown-ups have a good time with it too. Great co-op game. We can play together, Jay. Me, you, and Nat.
Oh, okay, fine.
All right, never mind.
Kay says the hints say that they wanted to wait until Sony was ready to announce possible VR. I feel like there's a lot with VR right now that Sony kind of effed up because I feel like a lot of devs were so excited for PSVR 2 as well, and now devs are like either not developing for them or they're not saying stuff. I kind of feel like maybe Hitman was gonna have like PSVR 2 support, and now they're like, oh, we're not sure. They're like, oh, well, let's just crap out this DualShock thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. They have these studios like the Blood and Truth London Studios. They're not closing them down.
Yeah.
So they're obviously working on something. What's the name? They made Farpoint, right?
Impulse
still
Gear.
working on something. They're still making something. So obviously there's something in the works. But we're just gonna have to wait forever for it, right?
Mm.
Natalie says she doesn't want Adam to come on this podcast. Adam from your podcast. She doesn't want him here. She says, I hope no Adam. I don't know what else she could mean by that, but I guess she hates Adam is what she's saying.
Yeah, he'd stink it up, man. He'd stink it up big time.
He needs to just get his stupid freaking camera.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't wait for God of War 2. I just have to comment on that because I cannot fucking wait for God of War 2.
But that too, they added. It's a PS4 game, right? It's PS4 and PS5. That's what's so disappointing, right? I would be excited about God of War 2 if only I knew it was like a true showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a PS5, man?
I do not. I will probably do what I did with the PS4, which is buy it like 2 years in when there's a good sale.
When nobody's complaining about the fact that there's no games for it.
Yeah. And get similarly all the good games also on sale because consoles still have a purpose to me. I still play primarily PC right now, but I kind of go back and forth. I have a Switch, I have a PS4, but those Sony exclusives, they'll keep me coming so long as they keep pulling that off, I guess. Because I really want to play God of War 2, and I want to play the next Horizon Zero Dawn. I want to play. Let me accept your invite, Jay. I didn't find anything I liked.
But Horizon Zero Dawn, that's another PS4 game. I mean, all the best games are still PS4, which is ridiculous because that technology is so old. But You know, I just bought Ghost of Tsushima, and just because I knew it was like a good showcase for the upgradability,
Right.
but I haven't touched it, so I need to play with that and see how that looks.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima is pretty fun.
I kind of got my fill of Sekiro, and so I'm thinking like, man, am I really ready to dive back into the Japanese samurai stuff? But if I wait a little bit, I mean, the Neo remaster stuff's about to happen, so I gotta weigh my options. They're all the same game, just it's a sliding scale of difficulty.
What is this thing? Someone said this to me in a live stream today about PS5s. Or no, they said in a podcast yesterday about PS5s. Some of them are just suddenly dying. Is this the thing you've heard? Kind of like the old Red Ring of Death kind of thing from the Xbox. Is this
not that
is this
I
just
haven't
one person
seen
said
like
this?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not heard of anything systemic. I'm sure some goober is like, you know, smoking cigarettes and putting them out in the PlayStation 5 and it's dying. But I've heard of them crashing and people rebuilding database and stuff like that. So there's certainly some issues there, but I think it's more software than hardware based.
Right.
That really looked like from the camera you just slapped his butt.
That's exactly what I did.
It really looked like it. Perfect. Dive on in.
But yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of glad that all the PS4 is going to be able to play all these games. Cause
no, I understand. Yeah. If I didn't
have
PS5,
to worry about it.
Yeah, I'd be all about it. It's just, you know, Demon Souls Demon Souls is like one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm not going to complain too much. But it's like the game, and beyond that, that's it until Returnal comes out. So I just hope to God Returnal is going to be good.
Returnal just sounds like it has something to do with anal to me, so it just
that's exactly what it is. That's why I'm excited about it. Return anal.
My PS5 isn't waterproof.
Yeah.
Well, it ought to be.
That's what K27 says.
Phones are waterproof now. Come on, Sony.
World's Average Gamer says that's a nice camera. I guess he's talking about these because he can't see the one you're holding, I presume.
Maybe.
Rec TV.
It's a whole fancy place in here. All right, I think we can call it on after hours. We should let this guy get to sleep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. The camera's waterproof though. Oh, you chat. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Dive on in.
Oh my god.
Dive on in.
No. I can't let Alex back on now because